You saw us out a couple of days ago shooting rooks. We started the day, as you might have noticed, with some old cartridges. We were trying to get rid of some old cartridges. There's very little options out there for recycling. So the easiest thing to do is to try and use them. However, after about 20 shots, and to be honest, they just weren't effective or efficient at all, we sourced some new ones, some fresh cartridges, and they worked very, very well. And we've told people for years old cartridges are bad. However, it's something I've never put on paper versus new cartridges. What's the real difference in real life? So what we're going to do today is what we have is a Clear Pigeon 30 6 brand spanking new, and a Clear Pigeon 30 6 of at least 4 years old, and see how they operate against each other. First test, we're going to cut them open and see what they're like inside. So let's start with shot. Here we have the shot from one. Put that down there quickly. Right. Then we have the powder. And finally, the wad. There's the wad, and over powder card there. We're going to save this powder, and we're going to put this powder on the back of the vise, because what we are going to do is going to do a little burn test between them. It's going to prove a lot, but it might prove something. And now we're going to cut open a new one. So the first thing you notice when looking at these shot piles side by side is this one is slightly different in colour. So you can see, if you look close, there's a lot more dull ones, a lot more oxidised bits there. These are still all lubricated, and as such should be that little bit more efficient. I'm led to believe they didn't change the recipe, so the antimony content, the actual lead composite itself, should be identical. So in terms of hardness, nothing should change. However, this is slick and lubricated, and this starting to be a little bit oxidised. Oxidized leads should not make too much of a difference, but it can. Certainly in aerodynamics, they can stick together a little bit easier once they're oxidised, and a few other little things. But certainly, I'd rather have the shiny than the not shiny. Look at powder. Right, so the only thing you can really tell is that they clearly changed the powder recipe. Not only from the colour and the cut, I mean, they could be identical, but why would one be different to the other? One thing I've certainly noticed from cutting up older cartridges, and to be fair, these weren't the cartridges using the other day, but they were the only like for like that I had. A lot of older powder sticks together in clumps, certainly if it hasn't been stored well. And as such, powder can be affected quite seriously. But, and this is more just for fun and effect, let's burn this. So in terms of actual burn rate, there was fairly little discernible difference. They burned very differently, but again, the cut, the powder, everything to do with it. Well, again, there's nothing scientific to grasp from that, apart from it's called burn some powder. So, let's have a look at this. This is an Ely HB Pigeon. And I remember these cartridges from some time ago, and actually, unsurprisingly, it's pretty good. I think I might be cutting the ones too far back. And this is a Winchester GB cartridge. This is a little older again. Brilliant ammunition, Winchester, but it is bloody expensive. In the shotgun ammunition, at least. The rifle ammo is pretty well priced. Well, firstly, look at that. Look at the way that casing there is formed versus the Ely casing. Very interesting. Winchester always have this very thick plastic. I know that's not what we're here to discuss. That's very interesting. And neither of those cartridges did what they were told. Actually, that's a lie. The GB trap just has a couple of lumps that are stuck together. And it doesn't take much to affect burn rate. You can see there's just sort of little clusters in there. And again, it probably won't make a massive difference, but it was noticeable when we were out that older cartridges were wounding more than fresher cartridges were. Let's go shoot a pattern plate and see if there's any discernible difference. Clear Pigeon 2019, 70mm as opposed to 65. There's a key difference I didn't mention earlier. 30 6. Top barrel, 35 yards. Huh. Interesting. Well, no shot has gone all the way through either. So let's go see what it actually did. Let's go back to the shop. So here we have it, the results. And again, this is speculative, is the best way of putting it. Here is the new pattern, and here is the old pattern. Conclusions one can draw. If this is 100%, this is 78%. So this is a tighter pattern, but again, they've changed the recipe of the cartridge so much that you can't really argue that out. Density-wise, it's not that exciting on either front. Both have sparse areas, both have good areas, but both are good clean kills at 35 yards out of a full choke. What we really did this for was to test penetration. So we have the same page here in both books. Both were set up the same, absolutely identical. And as you can see, the energy transfer on this, the old cartridge, is significantly less good. And we're just looking at the broken paper, the actual damage done, if you like. If we keep skipping through, you can see we're still breaking paper on this new cartridge when we're still just denting this old one. What scientific basis you can have behind this is fairly little. You know, there wasn't quite enough controlled environments and so on and so forth to actually draw any honest scientific things. However, I know, because we were out the other day and old cartridges were not killing cleanly, that they are less good, just from a practical application. And I now know from this, and although yes, there is a test bed of 1 in each, new cartridges hit harder. Given that they say the recipe is more or less identical, the speed's identical, nothing has really changed, an old cartridge must lose velocity. It must. Penetration wise, they were about the same. The beauty actually that you'll notice with the new cartridge, if we flick to the right page, is that we are stopped almost on an identical page with both. Whereas this older cartridge, some did penetrate more, yes, some less. But in terms of evenness and consistency, it was this new cartridge that won out. Both sets of lead seem to deform in fairly equal numbers, but if we have a look here, you'll notice some didn't quite make it to this point, some are a little bit further in, but this is a fairly blanket penetration. What can you draw from this test? Again, no scientific conclusions whatsoever, apart from, yes, old cartridges do not hit as hard. And that's pretty much all I set out to prove to myself. Great, isn't it? Guys, thank you very much for watching, take care, goodbye, and we'll see you next time. Remember, use them or get rid of them, and buy new ones.